is my pleasure this morning to introduce our guest speaker, and today that's Barb Walley. I have Barb's bio here, and Barb has a special place in our hearts here at the center. So her formal training began 20 some years ago, and she is a spiritual life coach now and was an active New Thought spiritual leader for over 15 years in Toledo, Ohio. She is also a licensed and ordained minister with Centers for Spiritual Living. So she began her journey as a spiritual student at Long Beach City College in California when she was first introduced to comparative religions. And in 1978, she was introduced to A Course in Miracles, studying with Marianne Williamson in Santa Monica and Hollywood. Boy, those are some creds. She spent time at Self-Realization Fellowship at the Lake Shrine Temple on Sunset Boulevard, where the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda are taught this day. So in 1980, she discovered The Science of Mind by Dr. Ernest Holmes and has been on the New Thought Ancient Wisdom path since that time. She shared the insights and growing awareness with others on her cable television show that she produced for 7+ years, featuring authors such as Mark Victor Hansen, produced a video of Jack Canfield, Dr. Peggy Bassett, Dr. Dominic, Dr. Margaret Stevens, and many other New Thought greats. I didn't want to murder it, sorry. She is currently she is a Kira Yoga practitioner for about 6 years now and has developed a deep love for the practice of Raha Yoga and the ageless wisdom that can be found in the Bhagavad Gita, thank you, and other spiritual resources. She has dedicated her life and all of her work to God. Her intention is to love and serve Spirit in all that she is and all that she does. Her heartfelt intention is to help you find spiritual life tools that serve your spiritual growth and transformation and helps you go more deeply into a personal relationship with God. And that is indeed why we're all here. So please help me welcome Reverend Barb.
Well, those of you that have known me for a while know that this is like coming home to me. I love you guys, and it is clearly divine order. When I showed up at Ananda, and some of you were there, I go, thank you, because I just have missed you, and I miss the Science of Mind, because I'm a combination of them all, and I have been for my whole life. And actually, I even knew Sandy. I used to go to Glendale Church when she was there. I loved Sandy. She was good. She talked me into sleeping on the floor when I used to live in downtown LA. And I spent most of the night until I've gone, I don't think so. I think I'm going to go home. I did. Anyway, it's so good to be here with all of you. And thank you for inviting me. Joy and sorrow arrive in our lives for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. And I really believe that, because everyone experiences grief. And my preparation for this talk came as a big surprise for me. And I'm sorry, I'll get emotional, because my brother-in-law died 2 weeks ago. So here I am about to write this talk, and I had a whole different beginning to it. And then that happens, and I'm going, oh my God, I can't write it at all. And so at first I was just shut down. And then I kept saying to myself, I have a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and I never know why, and we never know what's provoking it. There is truly only one mind, and I've been a long-time student of the Science of Mind and all of these teachings, and I know that it is the truth, and I know that it sets us free. And I believe that if this came to me, and finally I got to a place in my mind that I go, if it came to me, it's mine. even though I really didn't want to agree to that. Some part of me just wanted to let it go, but that's not my nature, for one thing, and two, that wasn't my divine assignment because I was committed to come here. So I had to write the talk, and I had to work it through because I don't believe in superficiality. I believe in telling the truth and walking the talk. And God gave me a tough one this time. That wasn't, my brother-in-law fell downstairs. My sister and brother-in-law they have one of those chairs because they were both getting old. My sister's 10 years older than me. I'm only 15, but, but, she's starting to, they both were, and he was about 7 years older than her. So it was just a very strange thing that happened. And I knew that somehow there was a tie-in to this talk, and I wasn't seeing it at first. Then I realized that there's a presence for love, and it's teaching us love, only teaching us love, and we're extending love, and we don't know why things happen but those that are the deepest ones that really throw us off emotionally, I'm with you on that. It's tough. It's not an easy thing to lose people you love. And I felt that I couldn't even help my sister. Now, she was strong for a while, but yesterday it really hit her hard. And so I must have sensed it. And so I called her. And the minister in me shifted the gear. And I was no longer in that because there's a power for good that's in the universe. And it is God. And God will take over. And Dr. Holmes, and I'm going to close with this idea, and you'll see kind of where I'm going. When I was taking my last test to get my license, my permanent ordination, that I no more tests about that. I had a ton of them. And Dr. Holmes, honest to God, you may not ever believe me, but honest to God, I would say, put my hand on a Bible, and if you know me, I would never do that if it wasn't the truth, because I know how the law of cause and effect. Anyway, Dr. Holmes walked right in front of me. I was all dressed, ready for my last interview that was going to give me my permanent ordination, and walking right in front of me, I mean, this close as you are, Dr. Holmes is walking in front of me. He was not in a body anymore, as far as I know. And he said to me, "You are standing on the shoulders of giants." And some part of me got it, but some part of me really didn't get it yet. And that's partly what this talk is about, that we really have to find a Kleenex. Didn't expect that one. I should know. I'm an easy touch when anything emotional happens. I'm a Cancerian Pisces moon, lots of water. So I thought, okay, what's the worst that can happen? You guys are going to see me cry. Duh. Can I live through it? Yes. Each one of us is a holy temple of God. Each one of us. That's an absolute truth. There's no one that's an exception. Even if you're ignorant to the teachings, we are one with God. We were created that way. That's the power we've got to really engage in, especially at this time in our lives. The world needs us. We'll grow huge churches if we are so inclined, because if people get how powerful this teaching is, and they really take it in, that there's truly only one, it's God, and we're using that consciousness, then we will no longer be struck by our limitations and our fears and all the stuff that gets passed around in this world that causes people to fear that something bad's going to happen to them. It may look like that. I mean, I would have said that my brother-in-law's dying was just going to be a horrible thing for all of us, and we would be plagued by it, and I couldn't write a talk, and how could I do this and mention him and stand with some respectability and share this truth that happened? And I'm not through with it, but I had to get some strength in, and it couldn't be my strength. It had to be a powerful good that's the universe, and I knew if I really connected with it, I would be able to do it. Because there's no difference between God consciousness and my own, except if I believe it is so. And if I believe it is so, it will be so for me. And that's true for you. And that's creatively, that's financially, that's morally, that's spiritually, on every single front of this life. We're enlightened souls. You may not think so. But if you compare yourself to the rest of the world, you've got a lot of wisdom, and you can use it. And we're meant to use it if we're receptive. We can't just shut down and say, okay, I learned enough at Science of Mind 1. That's not true. It's an ongoing process. And we can go deeper into this teaching because it's a very powerful teaching. And why the universe brought me into Ananda as well, I don't think I really needed it, but at some level I must have needed some of what that teaching offers, that I could put, it was a piece of a puzzle. And I see how I've returned, even though I'd never left it. I just feel like I did when I left my church and went to Ananda. I wasn't planning to hang out there for years, 15 years. But there was something for me to integrate into my awareness. And God brought me here today. The timing was absolutely precise. And I walk into the garden, and who's there? You guys are there. And I go, divine timing. I go, this is not a mistake. We're one. And we have to see the power in that. We have to harness that potential. And we can. Because even though grief is unavoidable, it doesn't have to kill us. It doesn't have to manipulate me so much that I can't experience the grief. That's what I had to do. Part of me wanted, I saw this topic and I'd go, no way can I talk about this. I mean, we're talking, it hadn't even been 2 weeks when I got this assignment. And of course, I was ashamed to even say that I don't think I can do this. So I didn't write it. I didn't write my talk. I didn't get anything going. And I'm going, that's not like me. I like to get things going for a while so that that divine mind can fill in the spaces that I won't do automatically. So I had to come to peace about my brother-in-law. And I wasn't, it's a good thing that I wasn't right there with my sister, because I probably would have been far more emotional all the time. But the science of mind proves to us that grief has the power to misdirect our minds and divert our emotions, and that we have to take over that. We have to step in and say, there's a powerful good in the universe, and it's operating in me and those around me and those in my family that are affected, and I can be helpful. I thought when I go, there's no way I could be helpful with my sister. And I'm going to be going to Long Beach shortly. And I know somehow I'll move through it. I'll help her because I won't be choking on it. And he wasn't well. And so it had to happen. But we have to get stronger with these things. And we don't have a choice. It's just part of life. It's a tough one. It is a tough one. I'm sorry, I'm easy. um, and I don't know that I've ever cried through a talk before, but I think this might be one of them. Maybe the only one, because I probably would not agree to it again. But it was a divine assignment because it's real. And, you know, we're in a time where there's so many real important things going on that we have to step up. And you guys, we're the wise ones. You know, not wise asses, excuse my, sorry, master. But sometimes we act like that. You know, we can get very egoic. And the truth is that life is coming to serve our spiritual growth and transform us so that when the time comes that we leave our bodies, we'll still be useful. Because when Dr. Holmes walked by, it wasn't like, you know, he had just passed and so his body was still hanging out. He had been left his body a long time ago. And, you know, so when he walked by, my head went, oh, that's somebody who looks like Dr. Holmes. I could handle that one at the moment. No, that was Dr. Holmes. And when he walked a long way, and I heard him say, you are standing on the shoulders of giants, he empowered me. I mean, that's a lifetime empowerment. And it served my spiritual growth powerfully, but I didn't take it in completely. And there's lots of wisdom that is given to us that we don't pay attention to. So when you start to look at that and you let joy into your heart where pain was, which is what I've had to do in order to write this talk, and to some degree, and obviously process is still in process, that the divine is always ready to express through you. Because there's only one mind, it's the mind of God, and we all use it. And how do I use it to change grief to joy? I have to experience that human journey. And I can't avoid it. And none of us are going to avoid that ending whenever it is personally for us or other people in our lives. We're not going to avoid it. We can try. We can go drink ourselves to death, or we could, you know, drug ourselves. I'm sorry, I did that long time ago. Didn't like it very much. I'm an absolute disgusting drunk. Because I don't drink, I don't like it, I don't like the taste, I never liked it, you know. I was a hippie, so you know what that meant. So, I mean, you know, and all of that went by real fast because I didn't really like being anesthetized no matter what the form. And the reality is joy and grief are part of life. And these two terms, they seem opposite, but they're part of the same whole, just as we are a part of the whole of God. And there's no separation. There never has been, and there never will be. Our judgments may cause us to believe there is because of one reason or another, but the joy is pleasant, and it's our gift from God. And we are all entitled to it. So, one of the things that I was thinking about, gosh, I want to spark joy. I mean, I would like to come in and lift your spirits and make you feel like it, you know, which your music does. Thank you so much. I'm, you know, longtime lover of music. And I was in the music business for many years, and I was very spoiled until the music changed, and I'm out of here. I go, I am not listening to that stuff. That is not music to me. And it felt like an old person when I said that to myself. I go, I can't hear the melody. I can't hear the words. I can't, you know. So, I go, boy, I guess I'm getting older. And still the music, I don't like it. But I do love what I think is good music. And I go, God, you sound like your parents. Yes, it's true. I'm at that point at which we don't really appreciate some of the screaming things. And I go, how can, if I can't understand the words, I'm not going to listen, especially if it's screaming noise to me. I go, God, you are an old person now. You sound like the kids who say that about us. And I remember thinking that myself. So, what are we thinking? What are we believing? What are we engaging in? What are we supporting with our thought and our actions? We can't stay stuck in loss because we're living at a time there's such major change, it's going to feel like loss. And so we have to recognize that we have an opportunity to make things better and encourage the possibilities of a higher consciousness. We're on the edge of a huge shift in consciousness. Why? Because we need it on the earth. And we won't save this earth. We won't save. I'm not believing. I'm not a. There's a word for it. Pardon me? That's it. I'm not a prophet of doomsday. I know we're here to transform. I know that the world's not going to end. Some part of me, we wouldn't have to work this hard. The universe would have just let us play if it was all going to blow up. It's not going to blow up. It may feel like that because there's so many things going on that are very distressing. But our emotions can be transformed. Our grief can be transformed. Our beliefs can be transformed. We can work together for a higher good. You guys did not get this education and this wisdom to just toss it out. You're going to use it. And we are being called to action. We're being called because that's the way the universe has always worked. Whatever generation before, they help, whatever little bit of wisdom they learn, we're to pass it on. And that's how the world has always worked. It's still working. And I remember when I was talking, who was I talking to about being in Paris? Okay. When I got to Paris, and I was on a ride, that's right. And my ex-husband and I were sitting, and I was just looking. I'm a junkie for all the paintings and everything, and I am surprised my husband even stayed with me. I ran him through so many things so fast just because I wanted to see everything, especially the certain paintings in Paris. We have to feel it to heal it. We have to pay attention to what's going on. We are a part of the generation that's moving that energy forward. And your assignment is the same as mine. There's only one in whom we live, move, and have our being. We're going to make some changes. And we're approaching it right now. What do I have to do? What do I have to think about? What can we as a community, as a Science of Mind community, can really, really bring forth? I know we're being called to it. What exactly it is, I don't know. It includes treatment. It includes cooperation. It includes the wisdom of our teaching. Dr. Holmes didn't walk in front of me and tell me you're standing on the shoulders of giants. For me, I put it away. I didn't tell anybody. I don't know how many years it's been. I want to find out just so I can share that. Because it took me this long. Honest to God, I didn't tell anybody this. Not even my husband or anybody. Of course, my husband was such a scientist, he probably would have thought I was nuts anyway, but because he was a doctor and he thought he knew everything. So, of course, I didn't think so. But he was a wonderful soul, and on his third wife, I hope he's gotten it by now, whatever it is. We almost got back together, but that fell through because I was in Toledo, Ohio, and he didn't want to move there. I can't blame him. I was glad to leave myself after 15 years. So the reality is, Dr. Holmes wants us to realize how powerful our memory is and to use treatment as an active practice. So what is it that we need to be using these active practices for? We need, as a community, we need to think about that and get some focus and some energy and some common intentions. And we need to let this teaching fly. It's a powerful teaching. And we know we can have larger communities than we have. But it's going to take some shift for all of us to do that. The body, without the thinker, is unconscious. We have to bring in consciousness for us to assume. That's Dr. Holmes. Right thinking brings new conditions. If we're, as a movement, we're not growing, it's because we're not doing something that we need to be doing. And I believe it's getting a greater vision, having some, get everybody that is a part of the community and our collective community, and let's ask that question. And let's see how we can serve. It is not because we need to have more people in here. It's because we need to raise the consciousness about our wonderful teaching. We are indeed standing on the shoulders of giants. And I know that I want to close with a couple of little stories. There was a gal named Marina, and she was a college student, and she was 8 months without coming home to her family, and all of a sudden, just like what happened to me, the irony of having this topic, I wanted to go, this wasn't meant for me, I wanted to do something more joyful. Well, I got it. So eventually, her parents died, and she didn't get to her family. I'm feeling the same thing. I'm feeling a little guilty. My brother-in-law's and my sister's down in Long Beach, and I'm here, and I had this already planned. And so Divine Mind brought this challenge for me to find a way to have enough joy and happy, grateful thoughts that I could come and do this without making a crying mess in front of you. I tried. Mostly I did. So, because it's not I, but it's the spirit within me that doeth the works. That is one of the powers of the science of mind. And if we're struggling with grief, it's because we haven't brought the balance in yet. We haven't asked, we haven't sought, we haven't embraced the idea that grief, it could be there and still have joy. That's not a juxtaposition most of us mix together. But I had to look at that this last week. And I realized that I took a little walk as close to the beach as I could without getting my feet wet, because there's not much beach right around here right now. So I want to close with this idea. When Dr. Holmes gave us the exact image of his plaid, everyone had seen pictures of Dr. Holmes probably in a plaid shirt, right? Right. Well, he's in, this one is. But there are pictures of him in plaid shirts. And I saw him in a plaid shirt walking right in front of me. If Dr. Holmes can do it, you can do it. I can do it. I don't know how. I have never done it. And I haven't left this body at this time yet. But he wants us to know that we're standing on the shoulders of giants. Why did he say that to me? It took me I don't know, over 20 years to tell everybody about it. And I'm going, why are you holding on to it? I felt like I should just keep it a secret because I thought people would think I'm nuts. Right now, I don't really care if you think I'm nuts. I know it was the truth. And it can set me free because I'm not going to hold on to it anymore. And I know that you will either believe it or you won't. You'll check it out for yourself because you'll ask those questions that are intimate between you and the Christ consciousness, divine consciousness, Dr. Holmes, any other spiritual teaching that you, I talk to Paramahansa Yogananda all the time, and he answers me. You know, you can now, if you didn't think I was nuts with that one, you probably will. But, you know, there's only one mind. We teach that. It's the mind of God, and we all use it. How are we using it? What are we doing with it? I really want you to know, with great joy and realization, that there is a way for you. I have a sweet picture. I wish I had it is blown up, of Dr. Holmes. Cutest picture of that face. He's such a sweet face. And honest to God, maybe someday he'll walk right in front of you, and you won't be so stuck that you might. I mean, now so many times I thought of, why didn't I just go walk with them? I mean, you know, if somebody saw me, good for them if they saw it. I don't know why he did that. I guess he just wanted me to ace my last step in my process. He goes, I got to get that kid out there so she can teach this stuff because she's got a commitment to it. I do. So do you. I've known you guys for years. You've been around here in this teaching for years. We went to the same church. What? How many years ago? 30 years? 40. Same church. Sandy and I were friends. Longtime friends. And the reality is that we're one family of consciousness. And it's such a blessing, really, for us to even realize that we're here for a higher purpose. Every one of us. And it's a blessing. We are one with God, and it is your blessing for yourself and for each one of us, as we know that. I honor you and bless you, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your life. I hope I see you frequently along the way. Many blessings. Namaste. And so it is, indeed.